But anyways, let's move on now to our final topic. We're talking Kawhi Leonard and the San Antonio Spurs. Right now, the Spurs 11-6, 2 straight wins over the Thunder and the Hawks. Tonight, they're playing against the New Orleans Pelicans. And Dave, Kawhi Leonard, sources say that he's going to be back soonish.
Oh, yeah. Love that timetable.
Very professional. He's going to be back soonish. Probably around Christmas at the latest.
We're hoping a little before, but yeah, I mean, it's pop, you know. They're winning games. Like, why do you need to bring Kawhi Leonard back? Just let him rest till the playoffs.
Well, he's going to come back at some point. And looking at Kawhi Leonard, obviously last year was a candidate for MVP.
Yeah.
What do you think that Kawhi will bring to this team that's needed right now? Because right now, leading scorer is LaMarcus Aldridge, averaging 22 points per game. We know that Kawhi averaged last year his best performance, at least point per game wise, with 25.5. Obviously, a ridiculous defender with an under 100 defensive rating for his career. What do you think he's going to bring to this team that this team right now is lacking?
He brings back leadership. He brings back the go-to guy mentality, and he brings back an amazing quantity of defense. Being able to take out their #1 player, no matter who it is, 1 through 5, you can put Kawhi Leonard on him, and you don't have to worry. Like, obviously, you know, the Dwight Howard matchups, the Shaq level quality of bigs doesn't really, whatever, but everybody else, you don't have to worry. Kawhi Leonard is a shutdown defender still. So what it brings back is a huge winning mentality, having a leader on the court again. The thing that honestly concerns me is, is this going to mean the disappearance of LaMarcus Aldridge again?
Well, right now he's being used 28.5% of the time, so that's going to obviously take a dip.
That's got to be like a top 10 usage.
But do you think that's going to at least, it's less than Dennis Smith, but do you think that that's going to play into, do you think they're going to try to at least use LaMarcus Aldridge a little bit more now, especially with the way that he's playing when they bring in Kawhi, especially just kind of easing him into basketball? Yeah. How do you think those two, at least back and forth, will do once that Kawhi is 100% healthy and going to take over the role that he usually has as the #1?
Yeah, I think it's going to be honestly a pretty big challenge because Kawhi Leonard's not a super selfish player, which is awesome. But the problem is he is your best player by a long shot. Yeah. Like, you need to feed him the ball, and I get it that LaMarcus Aldridge needs the setup time. He needs the sets offensively to run through him, so he gets comfortable and he starts to get a groove. So it's going to be a little tricky. The nice thing is you can really just have Kawhi be a primary, secondary ball handler out there, and he will 9 times out of 10 make the right decision. He's a very smart player. He knows the offense. He knows what Pop wants to do with this team. So I'm happy with the unselfishness. I'm concerned that they might go to LaMarcus even though it's not in their best interest when Kawhi is back.
And what do you think that at least means? So they're going to try to feed LaMarcus.
They're going to try to force the ball through LaMarcus too much, and he's not your best player. You shouldn't be forcing the ball through your second best player, taking touches away from your best player.
And how do you think they can use at least those two skill sets of Kawhi Leonard and LaMarcus Aldridge together efficiently? Because obviously right now, I mean, we have kind of seen it worked out before. I mean, this is
but it's for
3
short
seasons?
Stints.
Yeah.
That's the problem, is they've not been able to keep them both performing highly at the same time. So you see one take over than the other.
Do you think that at least LaMarcus being hot right now and Kawhi coming in, do you think it's better that LaMarcus is hot and Kawhi needs to get hot? Do you think that LaMarcus, with the kind of the way the NBA is now, going away from bigs, do you think the fact that LaMarcus is hot is going to help and possibly help him keep hot for longer? Yeah,
I do. I think that it's been a bonus to you that you've had LaMarcus turn back the clock to his performance of the old days when he was on, like the Trailblazers and being a dominant force. Obviously not filling the stat line is ridiculous, but he's on a much better team. There's a reason. I think that getting Kawhi ramped up, you will have that ability. You don't have to force feed, Kawhi the ball, so you can let him come back with a minutes restriction, play him for, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, build up his endurance, build up his conditioning again, and you still have LaMarcus Aldridge you can rely on at the end of the day because he's a good scorer, he's still fairly efficient, and when he gets in his groove, he's very hard to stop. So it's really the question of, when we start hitting the end of the season and playoff time, will they have found a good balance with them both going 100% all the time?
And obviously, you want Kawhi to be the guy. If one of them's not 100%, you want it to be LaMarcus Aldridge. Right. You want Kawhi taking over.
We've seen what Kawhi can do.
We saw him last year in the playoffs, and obviously they were given Golden State hell when he was in the game, but also even in that Grizzlies game. I mean, there was 2 games, I believe both in Memphis, that he took over in the fourth quarter late. I think one of them went to overtime. Kawhi was absolutely ridiculous in those last minutes. And I think that's the thing is, you mentioned leadership. This is a guy in Kawhi Leonard, and again, the one worry of his injury with the quadricep is that it's going to be a chronic injury.
If it is.
And if it is, I mean, this is Kawhi Leonard. I was going to say LaMarcus Aldridge. This is Kawhi Leonard, who is having his best year last year, and we see him still growing as a scorer. The thing is that he's, if he's growing as a defender, he might be, Scottie Pippen level, one of the greatest defenders of all time, if he's still growing as a defender. But at least scoring-wise is where we obviously needed to see him take a growth. You needed to see him be more of a playmaker. You needed to see him hit more of his shots and create more of his shots. He obviously did that last year. With the quadricep injury, what are you expecting from Kawhi out of the gate? Do you expect him to be Kawhi out of the gate? Because he is a robot. He
is. He has no emotions. He just works. It's like an on-off switch with Kawhi Leonard. I don't expect to see a whole lot of problem with him. I think he's still probably in decent enough basketball shape. The worry for me is, it's going to sound stupid because I know the Spurs have one of the best organizations, best trainers, best staff, best everything. So my concern is his conditioning out of the gate. It's how well will he transition back into playing more than 20 minutes a night at the NBA level. Will it take him the first month to get back up to speed? Because a quad injury, you have to get back to trusting yourself first off, which is a big step. And we've seen players in the past have issues where, they sort of trust it, but their game changes because of the injury, which I'm hoping it doesn't have to.
Well, you also expect and kind of wonder what his mentality and his reaction is going to be when guys start to close out on him like Zaza did.
No, and that's true. That's true. I mean, there's a whole mental aspect. I know I was reading the whole thing about like Derrick Rose and like how he's had to change and adapt his game because of his injuries and you have to worry mentally for the player and what happens in those situations. I think that's a fair concern, and the upside is it's still Kawhi Leonard. Like there's that thought in the back of head, he'll be fine. Like you said, he's a robot. Like he'll come back 100% same as he was before, and that's what you have to hope for as a Spurs fan. And
are you okay with him taking a dip statistically if it just means he's healthy out there? Because last year, one of the best players in the NBA, like we said, 25 points per game, 5.8 rebounds per game, 3.5 assists per game, 1.8, near 2 steals per game, near a block a game, shooting 48% from the field, and also 38% from 3 in 34.3 minutes. So do you think that stat line is going to take a dip, not only minute-wise, but also just efficiency-wise, just because he's obviously going to be out to a slow start to go right away?
I would expect it to take a dip. The big thing is, like I said, don't push him out there before he's not ready. This is a Spurs team that is still 11-6. You're still the 3rd best record in the West. Like, there is no need to rush. And the other thing is that we haven't even talked about, Tony Parker, the leader, emotional leader of this team, is going to be coming back roughly the same time frame, it looks like. So you're going to get back not only Kawhi Leonard, one of the best two-way players, and a top 5 candidate for player in the NBA, but also Tony Parker, a guy who's been there, done that, led teams, and has been clutch.
Well, and right now, Manu Ginobili is being used the 3rd highest amount on that team.
Bar soap.
He's 40 years old, so that's going to take a break off Manu. That's going to take a break off LaMarcus, bringing in Tony Parker. I'm obviously going to be worried, too, about Tony Parker, because that was a pretty nasty injury that he suffered in the playoffs as well. But looking at the Spurs schedule and when he possibly can come back, I would probably look at that that Saturday, December 9th date, where they're going to be at Phoenix or at Dallas. They go Phoenix and then to Dallas back-to-back. I think that might be a
nice cushy return.
I think that's going to be a place. Or if they want to keep it easy schedule-wise, Tuesday, December 12th, that's at Dallas, then at Houston. That's going to be a tough game, but then they go back to Dallas. So that's not too bad of a trip. And then you play at home against LA. So that's 4 games in the state of Texas. I wouldn't be shocked if that's when they bring back Kawhi Leonard. What are your expectations for the Spurs team once they add back possible MVP candidate Kawhi Leonard and then also Tony Parker? Where do you think this team can really push themselves? Because right now they're 3rd in the West Conference.
I think they're the Spurs. They're still going to be a top 3 team in the West. I don't think they drop off. Obviously, they're not going to drop off by adding back talent, but I don't know that they have enough to push ahead of a team like the Warriors or the Rockets because, to be honest, the Rockets have been doing it without Chris Paul.
Yeah.
And that's even more of a stab. So I'm a little concerned that they're kind of stuck in that awful position of we're a great team, we're consistently great, but you don't necessarily have enough to beat out the Warriors or the Rockets. But the big thing is it doesn't matter for the regular season. You can go into the playoffs as the 3rd seed. This is a team that if they have their health lines time up where everybody's healthy, everybody is back to 100% minutes, and they're all feeling it come playoff time, I don't want to face him in a series. Are you kidding me?
And the thing is, too, I mean, you got to look at Spurs fans, and they're definitely wondering, well, what if? What if Kawhi Leonard was healthy? What if Kawhi Leonard, we got 7 games
we talked about that
against
for
the
months.
Warriors,
yeah.
and you know, he was healthy, you possibly knock off the Warriors, and you're possibly going up
You're
against
world
the Cavs
beaters.
against the finals. Yeah. So, I mean, it's obviously a lot of what ifs there. I think they're going to be fine. I think they're probably going to cement themselves as the 2 seed in the Western Conference. The Rockets, I think, are going to fall below them. I think the Warriors are obviously going to take over as the number 1 seed. I think we're probably looking at a Warriors, Spurs, Rockets. But then again, Rockets versus the Spurs in the second round, hell yeah. Sign me up for that. It's going to be fun.
That's the thing. As long as they're all happy and healthy for the playoffs, that's what we want to see. I want a series, and I want to be a full series. I honestly want that Spurs-Warriors rematch so bad.
Yeah, it should be fun. Let us know what you think Kawhi Leonard brings back to the Spurs. Obviously, he's bringing a top-level talent, one of the best players in the NBA, and we're glad that Kawhi Leonard's going to be back. But let us know what you think is going to happen when the Spurs come back. Or not when the Spurs come back, when Kawhi Leonard comes back to the Spurs at the end of this one. But that's going to wrap up this podcast. Check out the Fast Break OT edition. David and I are going to give our power rankings for the NBA rookies so far. We're pretty much a quarter way through the NBA season, so check that out on our YouTube page. If you're listening on iTunes, give us a 5-star rating to the Onside Kick, Primetime Podcast, Fast Break Podcast, and Rick and Johnny. You're doing a great job if you do that. We love you so much, and we appreciate you a ton. Also, patreon.com/mostofitall podcast. Check out that $10 tier. Pretty damn sweet. We're going to have Jake on next week to talk NBA with us because he's a part of that $10 tier. It's super fun, but also you get some pretty cool stuff at the $1 tier, $2 tier, and $5 tier. So definitely check that out if you are interested. Patreon.com/mostofitall podcast. Also, if you're listening on Blog Talk Radio, big shout out to you. And also, happy Thanksgiving. I don't know.
It's probably after Thanksgiving.
It's probably Black Friday. Happy Thanksgiving anyways. I didn't do it at the end of the start of the podcast. I didn't do it at the end of the podcast. Well, if people are listening on Blog Talk Radio, they get a happy Thanksgiving.
They'll still hear it.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We love you so much. But for Dave Oster, I'm Sean Anderson. We'll see you next time.